Welcome to the So You Missed Church podcast. We are happy to have you here with us today. Happy Monday to you. This is Clint Daly, and I'm hoping that if you went to church this week, you got something from it. But maybe you missed church this week. Maybe you just didn't go. Or maybe you couldn't go. Maybe you didn't even miss it. We're still hoping we can get your week started in a positive way. Now, some of you may know that I actually have another podcast. I do a sports podcast, and it has a very different flavor than this one. But, a few weeks ago, I was doing my sports podcast, and I had a sports author on the program. And I use this web-based program, and it records both the audio and the video, and then I can go in and edit them later and post them. And I was hosting this interview with a New York Times best-selling author, and we're having a really good conversation. And right in the middle of the interview, the program crashed. And I'll be honest, I was kind of in a state of panic. And I logged out, and I logged back in, and thankfully, the author was still there, and we continued, and there was no harm to the interview. But it did cause me some stress, and I was kind of freaking out about it in real time, and my guest, fortunately, was very gracious, and he was like, hey, no big deal. Technology is a blessing. Technology is a curse. We just have to learn how to deal with it. But it did kind of get me thinking. Can you imagine, say even like 20 years ago, me saying I was hosting a podcast with a guy online that was out on the East Coast, and we were having a conversation with no delay and a crystal clear picture? Yeah, no chance. And here I am complaining about a glitch that happened one time. I recently read a book. It's actually an older book, and I'd actually meant to read it for a number of years, but I hadn't gotten around to it. You've probably heard of it. It's a memoir by Frank McCourt, and it's about poverty in Ireland back in like the 1930s and 1940s. And in that book, there is a section where young Frank is going to school in Ireland, and there's a group of kids at his school that don't have shoes to wear. And most all the kids barely have food to eat. They live their daily lives in a state of hunger. They live their daily lives without basic necessities. And once again, here I was complaining about a web-based program having a glitch. I think we just might have too much stuff. Today, we go to the book of Matthew. And in chapter 25, Jesus is telling a parable of a man who is going on a journey. So he calls his 3 servants, and he gives them some gold to watch while he's gone. To one he gave 5 bags, to another he gave 2 bags, and to the last he gave 1 bag. It says according to the servant's ability, and then he went on his journey. And the first 2 servants went out, and they invested the gold, and they actually doubled it. But the third man buried his gold to keep it safe. And when the master returned, he went to the first 2 servants that had doubled their gold. And in verse 21, it says, the master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. But then the master scolded the third servant because he did nothing with what he had been given. And he told him, at the very least, you could have just put it in the bank and made some interest on it. And here's the thing I want you to think about this week. How much are we blessed with every day that we just take for granted? Most of us have jobs and cars and houses and clothes and cell phones and food. And honestly, like I said, we probably have too much stuff. Did you know that right now on planet Earth, if you make just $30,000 a year as a single person, you are richer than 93% of the world? But here we are, complaining about web programs that glitch. Here we are complaining that McDonald's forgot to hold the onion on our Big Mac. Here we are complaining that we had to sit in traffic in our car that has heated seats and a heated steering wheel. But just as in this parable, what do we do with all those things we have been blessed with? Do we use the gifts that we have been given to help others? Do we use the gifts to bring compassion to those around us, to bring honor to God? Or do we just hide them in the hole in the ground and keep them to ourselves? Hey, I encourage you this week, not only to be aware of all that you have, not only to give thanks for so many things that we've been blessed with, but also to consider, how are you being faithful to God with those gifts? How are you being faithful to God with those blessings that He's given us? It's one thing to have all those things. It's another thing to be grateful for them, and another thing to use them to honor God and to use them to help those around us, again, as He has commanded us to do, to love others. This week, I encourage you, don't get caught up on the glitches in our software, on the glitches in our everyday lives. Be a little more aware of all that we have and how you're using it. Hey, remember, you can always contact the podcast at youmisschurch@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to be a source of encouragement to you. You can follow us on Facebook or X at YouMissChurch, and you can subscribe to the podcast pretty much anywhere podcasts are hosted. Just type in You Miss Church at whatever podcast company you go to. You'll probably find it. If nothing else, you can always go find it on YouTube. Hey, I wish you all a very happy Monday, and I hope that you have a great week.